Hi, and welcome to another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist. I am your host, Dennis Richkovsky. Some of you recognize me as the co-owner of Flip Flops Donuts, and some of you know me as your broker of real estate who specializes in waterfront and waterview properties along the Crystal Coast, especially on Bogue Banks and in my town of Emerald Isle, North Carolina. On this channel, you will find essential information from the inside scoops on buying and selling houses to how to live with the ocean, rivers, and sounds that define the Crystal Coast. Today's episode is all about vaccinations. Whether you visit here occasionally or live here full time, knowing about America's skepticism about vaccines and the impact vaccinations have on the health of Crystal Coast citizens is a story worth telling. Before I begin, please subscribe to my channel now or at the end of this episode. Over 100 residents of Carteret County have died from COVID-19. Additionally, 34 new cases of COVID-19 were reported Wednesday. Get vaccinated, urges the Carteret healthcare system. All ages 5 and up are now eligible to receive safe and effective COVID-19 vaccinations. There's finally hope that all of this will end, but this hope depends almost entirely on how many people will be willing to get the vaccine. I know, it's complicated. I made my choice to get vaccinated on the first day of my eligibility. And I understand that the end of this pandemic may well depend on many more Americans like me choosing to get vaccinated. And therein lies the rub. Many Americans not like me are not getting vaccinated for 6 main reasons. First, they are concerned about possible side effects. Second, they don't believe they need it. Third, they're waiting to see if it's safe. Fourth, they don't trust the vaccine. 5, they don't trust the government. And 6, they don't think COVID-19 is a big deal. Now, I'm not smart enough to have rejoinders for each of these reasons, but I am smart enough to look back in history for some answers. For starters, can the government even legally mandate a vaccine? Yes, it can, and history gives us numerous examples. The number of citizens dying from the smallpox epidemic at the beginning of the 20th century forced public officials to issue compulsory vaccination orders in efforts to reach the 90% vaccination rate required for herd immunity. Most citizens complied, but not all. In 1902, Henning Jacobson refused to get the smallpox vaccine. This launched a chain of events that landed the Massachusetts pastor in a landmark 1905 Supreme Court case in which the court made clear that the government could mandate vaccination, arguing that the collective good sometimes outweighs individual rights. And that is a good thing. Because of such mandated vaccination campaigns, like the one in Massachusetts, smallpox, a disease that killed 300 million people in the 20th century alone, was the first human disease eradicated from the planet because of vaccines. Is the government allowed to issue fines for not getting vaccinated? Yes, and this isn't the first time. We can return to that same smallpox epidemic and look to Cambridge, Massachusetts public health officials who issued compulsory vaccination orders. Though it wasn't a forced vaccination, those who refused to get vaccinated paid a $5 fine, which is the equivalent of $150 today. Are vaccination mandates allowed in schools? Public schools have required vaccination for children for years. All 50 states have legislation requiring specific vaccines for students to enroll in public schools. Indeed, the U.S. federal government set up the Childhood Immunization Initiative to increase vaccination rates amongst children against 7 diseases: diphtheria, measles, mumps, pertussis, polio, rubella, and tetanus. The CDC currently recommends that children from 0 to 6 get 29 doses of 9 vaccines, including a yearly flu shot after 6 months of age. How have the responses looked throughout the years? Right now, we're in a historical and cultural moment where a lot of people are taking stances on COVID-19 vaccines and being quite intransigent about those stances. It's very popular right now to die on the hill, so to speak, as they say, and to be gung-ho about it. History again teaches us that contagion and epidemics have brought out the best in humanity and the worst in humanity. Contagions have been the excuse for so many atrocities in the world and so much discrimination. In the Middle Ages, the plague arrived and Jews were killed and witches were burned. And we see this throughout history. Today, some people allege that vaccines are unnatural. Others believe vaccines cause autism. Some claim that viruses are not real. And try telling that to the loved ones of the over 800,000 Americans who have died from COVID-19 during the past 2 years. I want to make a case for actually less gung-ho intransience, less dying on the hill, less stubbornness in defending causes, and more listening. Like listening to Justice John Marshall Harlan, who wrote the majority opinion for that Jacobson versus Massachusetts case. For him, it was clear that this case was a legitimate exercise of the police power of the state. Smallpox was extremely dangerous, and he insisted that if the government can compel individual citizens to take up arms and risk being shot down in defense of their country, the country can fight off a deadly disease by demanding individuals to be vaccinated, even if it violated their sense of personal liberty or conscience or whatever. So get vaccinated against COVID-19 and get the flu vaccine too. After all, some 12,000 to 50,000 Americans die of the flu each year. And to learn more about what is going on in Carteret County and the Crystal Coast, subscribe to my newsletter by texting your email address to 919-308-2292. Or sign up for my blog on my website, www.eihomesforsale.com. And please subscribe to Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist on YouTube at the end of this video. Stay well and stay safe. So come on down. Please subscribe to my channel below and definitely return next week to this same bat channel at the same bat time of 9 a.m. on Thursday for another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist.